For the last 5 years, these have been my sawhorses. I literally painted the word wobbles on the side to name it. It's got a hinge in there. Look, it folds so quick, it's awesome. But this has got to change. This is where it gets a little complicated. Not that all of it hasn't been, but so we already made the holes. We cut off the ends of the legs at 45 degrees. That's just so there's no interference when they're rotating. You could round that off if you wanted to, but it's not necessary. I did in a previous version, but it turns out it's just an extra waste of time. So what you need to do is make some marks on it though. From the end of the board, that's going to be up here, don't cut that shorter. From the end of the board, go down to 1 3/4 inches and make a mark. You can use your speed square to cut that all the way across, but basically you can do this before you cut the corners off. So you're going to go 1 3/4, that's a mark. Then you're going to travel down to 3 1/4. You're going to make a mark there as well. And then you're going to go down to 3 5/8, and you can make a mark there if you like. And then go all the way down to 3 3/4, and I haven't made my mark there yet, but that's where it should be, 3 3/4. And so what you're going to want to do then is in at your 3 1/4 inch mark, from that point in, at a 90-degree angle there, so again, just straight in, go 5/8 inch in and mark at that corner point there, okay? And then from that point down, go down to the 3 5/8 inch mark and put a pin in that, put a mark there as well. That's about the thickness of a table saw or of a normal like radial saw. So if you wanted to cut that straight across just to give yourself that mark at 5/8 inch in, you could. But I'm going to be using a jigsaw for this. Okay, then from the corner point at 3 3/4, 5/8 inch in, mark from there all the way up to 1 3/4 inch, and do the same on the other side, obviously. And then once I get it marked in, I'm going to have a 3 3/4 inch mark here. I'm going to mark from that point up to the bottom here of this 5/8 inch mark. And so that's going to be right at that 3 5/8 inch point from the top, okay? So while that sounds complicated, what we're doing is we're creating a wedge shape that is, it's a full 45-degree angle. If you pair these two together, it's a 45-degree angle here at the very end. And then as we come across down here, I don't know the exact angle on this one offhand, but that matches up so that when these rotate to their splayed positioning, this piece of wood, this cut piece that we're going to be making, this wedge essentially, lays flat against the inside of the skirt, and the bottom section here, which we'll be cutting in, that abuts the bottom of the skirt. And that is where your wedge is. Essentially, that's where the weight of the leg, or the weight of the top of the sawhorse is placed on the leg itself. All right, now it's my personal preference that the inside and the outside are on the same wedge side. So in this instance, B's wedge is facing this direction, and so C's wedge will also be facing that direction. So C's gonna go like this. See how it lines up. Hopefully it'll be a perfect 45-degree angle. That's exactly what we want it to be. Looking at 25.5 on the widest end. So you want to cut 2 of these at 25.5. All right. All right, I moved on to the other side, but this is just screwed on, so you know how to do that. That's no big deal. All right, we're doing the same thing. In this instance, we know that we need to be 10 inches up from the bottom. That's simple enough, but we're doing it on the outside leg. So we're going 10 inches up from the bottom. By the way, I'm just lining up the bottom of the stretcher with that. Take our little board here. Now, it is my opinion, this is not a fact, but it is my opinion that if you have a stretcher running this way, or a spanner, or whatever you want to call that, then you match it going the other direction. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, the last time this was about a 30-degree angle, but I'm going to mark it anyways. This is, again, like I said, it's solid. I could stand on this, just walk up on it. Everything's fine, all solid, no rocking. You're good to go. All right, but I wanted more functionality than that. So what we're going to be doing is boring holes basically here and here, and then coring them out with the jigsaw. My battery died on my microphone, so that should tell you how long I've been out here. Height I chose for the pegs, which had more to do with material that I had for measuring off of than anything really else. Well, there we have it. A nice solid set of sawhorses. If you're wondering where this one came from, I made both of them at the same time and used this as B-roll footage on the table saw and other places. You'll note they have different stretchers and spanners or whatever you want to call these. That was because this guy, he came second and I didn't have as much material left for it. So let's take a look at what it does. I used nails for pegs on the adjustable section. Not very precise on that one, I just needed the function. And as you probably already know, it folds. Look at that, nice and folded. How much does it weigh? Less than 15 pounds. And so functionally, it does exactly what I wanted it to do. And it's been a learning process, as all projects are. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please give me a like and subscribe if you aren't already subscribed. For those who are, thank you. And here's my challenge for myself. John, in the future, if you see this, or if anybody reminds you of this, if this video gets 2,000 likes, I know that's my moonshot, or if it gets 2 million views, that's my Mars shot. You need to go back to the project and rebuild the entire thing with no screws and no bolts and make it out of pallet wood using just a handsaw, glue, sandpaper, clamps. Realistically, with a little bit more patience, you could make this entire project without any hardware. So anyhow, thanks for following along. This has been a weekend project with John Decker. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in the next one. But I've got faith. I've got faith. Think I'm out of shot? Am I out of shot?